Welcome. I'm Dr. Jesse Morse, a sports medicine physician in Miami, and you are watching a YouTube channel for the Injury Experts. Let's talk about Jordan Love, who suffered a knee injury last night that could have been substantially worse than it actually is. We saw Jalen Carter and another Philadelphia Eagles defender on each side of Love, and Carter was actually pulling his knee more so from the outside, pulling it in. Now, if we slow down the video, you can see a little bit of a pop or a shift. So my initial concern was ACL, but if the ACL remained intact, then, which would have been a contact, which is not super common, then the second most likely option is an MCL sprain. The MCL is a very commonly injured ligament. It's this one right here. It's the ligament that runs north to south on the inside of the knee, traditionally injured when a player gets tackled on the outside of the knee because it's responsible for protecting medial instability. Now, the importance of the MCL is that not only does it protect this, but it also attaches to the medial meniscus. So if you had a moderate sprain of the MCL, you can actually partially tear the meniscus as well. That's what happened to DeAndre Hopkins about a month or so ago. That's likely what happened to Kyle Pitts a couple of years ago. Now, grade 3s are pretty rare. You can have them. Tom Brady had one a couple of years ago. Those are usually a significant surgery and season ending. So I don't get that impression that that's what this is. So this is likely a grade 1, which is a mild sprain of this ligament, or a grade 2, which is a moderate sprain. And then the question becomes, is there any meniscal involvement? Now, there was some rumblings that there may possibly be an ankle injury. And based on the initial video, you could say, yeah, maybe it's possible. But they ruled that out. It could have been a high ankle. It could have been a lateral ankle. The other possible injury that he could have been suffering is a patellar dislocation, where the kneecap actually pops out, and there's a ligament underneath it called the MPFL that can actually tear. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about any of those because that is no longer applicable. Good news is that the ACL is intact, that this is a mild to moderate MCL sprain, which is not the end of the world. And there's unlikely to be any cartilage injury here, just given the nature of the type of injury. Furthermore, I expect him to return in about 3 to 6 weeks. Now, depending on the team, you'll have different levels of aggressive timelines. If this was the Eagles, who they played last night, I say he might be back in 3 weeks. Seeing how one of the most conservative teams, medically speaking, in the NFL is the Green Bay Packers, and I've been doing this since 2017, so we have plenty of references. You can use Devontae Adams when he had his turf toe and he basically missed a month, which is unorthodox. I would not be surprised if they decided to put Jordan Love on the PUP, return to play, IR list, whatever you want to call it, which would automatically knock him out for the next 4 games. Now, they only have one QB on the roster besides Love, and that's Malik Willis, and he just came on board like 10 days ago. So I would not be surprised if they picked up at least one other quarterback, and we'll kind of figure out who that is. Now, the Packers don't have a bye until week 10, so they don't have the luxury of kind of waiting. If they had one in week 5 or 6, they might be able to kind of get away with a week, not put them on IR, and then have them come back maybe after the bye. It's also important to understand that if he comes back too quickly from this MCL sprain, not only does he risk the MCL again, but he also will risk the ACL as well. So this is a very important discussion. He cannot return too quickly from this. If he's going to run, which he doesn't do a lot of, he will get tackled likely on the outside of his knee. They're going to re-injure that MCL and potentially compromise it for the rest of the year. So that is something that you have to take into consideration when you consider him returning too quickly. But in general, this is fantastic news. I was really concerned about the ACL, especially with the angle and how there was a little bit of a buckling in it. That's probably where the MCL ended up partially tearing. Let's talk now about how the ramifications on the rest of the offense. Jaden Reed looks incredible. How does this affect him? Christian Watson looked pretty good, even though there was a couple missed balls. How does this affect him? Wicks is probably irrelevant at this point. Tucker Kraft, Musgrave, Josh Jacobs was a little bit slow last night. How does this impact the rest of the team if your star quarterback is out at least a month, maybe closer to 6 weeks? Obviously, that's half of the fantasy season and almost a half, or at least a third of the regular season. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And you're going to need obviously another quarterback if you drafted Love to fill in. So you have to figure out who's a viable option. But thank you for tuning in. This is Dr. Jesse Morse, a sports medicine physician from Miami, and you're watching the YouTube channel for the Injury Experts. If you want a detailed injury analysis report, consider checking out our website at theinjuryexperts.com. And there is a free membership. You can also hop in our Discord and a bunch of other stuff depending on what you're looking for. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.